It's me, the Genie Quarantine. What's up, y'all? Adam Pecora here. Episode 11, Requiem for a Tuesday. Here we go. Let's dive right in. Got some exciting announcements to make. So, I have a new little EP coming out real soon, possibly before the next episode. So, it might be this Friday. We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to have another episode out or not, so that's why I can't really comment on it. But yeah, it's kind of like acid house inspired stuff. It's gonna be fun. I go by WolfX for those who don't know. WolfX.bandcamp.com. Also got a band, multiplex.bandcamp.com. Major plugs right there. Everything will be streaming everywhere as well. And you can follow me on Instagram at adam.rfat, RFAT. Yeah, everything will be continued from there. Kind of trying to unify all my stuff together so that way it's not like different personas in different places and then I gotta like clarify whether I'm being Superman or Slim Shady or whatever. You know, we can kind of all wear, I can just wear one hat, one R fat hat. And as always, you can contact me at rfatpodcast@gmail.com. Potentially, a little bit of DM action if that's your move on IG as well. So, now that I got those shameless plugs out the way, let's roll onto a whole nother thing. I hope that everybody's doing well. You got the quarantine in full effect. And it's definitely kind of weird. Kind of seems like people are coming together a little bit, which is cool. It's just a new thing. I mean, there's no way to really be ready, I guess. I mean, people can be like, quote, prepared for it. But but what does that mean? I mean, it means you got a bunch of food that's activated by water. Like, you weren't prepared. Nobody's prepared. And yeah, I don't know. It's cool that there hasn't been any looting so far that I'm aware of. I don't think I would handle it well if there was like a live riot loot thing going on in the streets. I mean, I'd still be inside because you're not following the rules. But uh, yeah, I don't think I'd handle that well. Like if there's people like with fire, like torches and shit, I'm like, bro, I gotta get out of here. You know what I mean? Do you think you could call an Uber in the middle of a riot? You think they'd come pick you up? 'Cause I hope so. I don't think that I'd handle it very well. But what can you do? But yeah, I mean, I've tried to stay active throughout this whole thing. Like I said, I mean, that whole project was kind of cultivated while being quarantined at home. I've been trying to, I'm doing this, trying to stay busy, but also trying to stay lazy. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to do too much. I don't want to break the strain here and go against my moral compass. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna start lifting weights and shit. Let's not let's not go insane. It'll take a while before that happens. I think I can make it like if it's 2 months or whatever. I think I'll be good. So we don't really got to worry about that. Yeah, I don't know. Recently, the other day, we just hopped in the car and just headed out to the Mississippi River. I mean, like you gotta clear your head. You gotta get out. Went to some hillbilly grocery store out in bumfuck Boone County, nowhere, and there's hardly any taxes on food. So stock the fuck up. I could easily not leave the house for a while as long as that water keeps running. You know what I mean? That's what I'm a little worried about. They're like, bro, you can't have any more water, and I'd be like, that's rough. But that's obviously dire situation. I don't know how serious it is. I'm trying to not really pay attention. As long as I'm feeling all right, I figure fuck it, right? You know what I mean? I'm lucky enough to not be personally affected in any way. So let's fucking keep it that way, and let's move on because I mean, in bigger news than the coronavirus, arguably, I mean Tom Brady left. I mean, like this algorithm is beyond destroyed. I mean, nothing is going as it should be, and it seems like anybody who's an engineer or whoever makes algorithms, I assume it's engineers, uh, they they're on vacation because like nobody wants to fucking work on this thing. Everything is just off the rails, batshit insane. And maybe that's always been true, and like we just haven't known. Like maybe I happened to like I said, like growing with the internet. Like maybe I just became an adult while it all kind of got exposed, I guess. I don't really know because I mean, if shit's always been this crazy, then I don't know how everybody ever hasn't lost their minds. Because yeah, I mean, the president's a joke. The Tom Brady's leaving. The Prince died. You know, like what's going on? We can't get anything we want, you know, among all the other batshit things that have been going on. I mean, that's just the first three things that came to mind for whatever reason. I mean, uh, it's a little bit of backstory on my whole Brady thing. So nobody gives a shit, and nobody's gonna listen anyway. Everybody's just a fair weather fan unless it's their city, and then you're still a fair weather fan if you haven't fucking posted a million thousand things about them in the past, or like been like, we got this when the team sucked. It's like, okay, you guys are a little fucking extreme, you know. It's definitely possible to not shit on the team you like while they're bad, and just like, or even like not watch. Frankly, I mean, why would you don't support it? If you support your team while they're bad, they're gonna stay bad. Trust me. You know, I know what the Cubs have been up to forever. You know what I mean? My grandmother lived her entire life. Luckily, she made it through the World Series win, but she was 90 years old, didn't see a goddamn thing. You know what I mean? And they grew up like a pretty decent distance from Wrigley. Like you could have hopped on the Addison bus and been there in like 15 minutes. So they were going to Cubs games like crazy, and they always were awful. And you know why? Because their attendance has been phenomenal. The White Sox, I don't know what the excuse is, and then any other city, I don't really give a shit. So if that theory's inaccurate, then that's too bad. But I don't know, like when the Bears were terrible, well, the Bears are still terrible. They're not. They shouldn't be, right? But when they were terrible a couple of years ago, like Trubisky's rookie year and the year leading up to it, and you know whatever the 2-3 years there, I mean, I barely watched. I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? You can't watch all 16 games. It's painful. It's painful, especially when the offense is that dead. Like at least if you're like the Lions, you know, you can watch like a bunch of exciting shit happen and then you just fuck up. And like, you know what I mean? That just seems like a more enjoyable thing. So I guess I don't really know like every end of the spectrum there. But so yeah, anyway, you know, I was born in 1995, right? So I'm like 6, 7, 8 years old while Tom Brady's winning his first rings. I know none of the narrative, none of the storylines. I don't know really who the guy. I don't know anything that's going on, you know. I'm just like barely even watching sports at all. Definitely not like understanding rules really or anything. It's like pure entertainment, and it's more so just like being around being around the fam. You know, I'm a little kid. I don't know. I don't have any independence yet. So, yeah, it's just like the first Super Bowls I can remember watch. I remember them beating the Rams. I don't really remember the game. I remember like the field goal, and just like I remember the first like football moment I remember is the Tennessee Was it the Rams? Right? Whatever. Even if I'm wrong about that. But like the Tennessee Super Bowl where Steve McNair throws the slant, I remember watching that play. That's the first play I remember seeing, and then I remember the Gostkowski like drive, like the not Gostkowski, Jesus, the Vinatieri drive at the end of the first one. And I think I remember the Isaac Bruce, like that huge touchdown he had where he does that cut and goes. But that's about it. Anyway, yeah, make a long story short. But so like parallel to like my Bears natural instinct fandom was that in my growth. And then like the dude never went away and the coach never went away. You know what I mean? Like if Brady just ends up being like trash one hit wonder, right? Doesn't do anything the next year. Well, they didn't make the playoffs the next year, but doesn't do anything the next year and goes away, you know, and then by the time I'm like 12 and actually getting into it or whatever, like seriously, he's gone, then, you know, I probably don't give a shit. You know, it would still be you know what I mean? Like it's over. So like I'm probably still going to be rooting for the Patriots at least a little bit, but I'm also going to be rooting for Brady. I mean, that guy's my god. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. I mean, I see like I didn't get to really see Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Like, I was lucky enough. I got to saw him play live. He was on the Wizards. I may have mentioned that before. It was cool. I don't know. Same thing. I was like 6. Like, I don't really get it. I didn't get it. You know, it's like watching Ali. Like, you watch the tape and you're like, oh shit, I kind of get it. Like, same thing when you watch like a Jordan game. This is the thing I got to live. I got to live through a GOAT. It was my entire childhood. Of course I'm gonna fucking rep that shit. Like, where were you guys? You guys weren't watching this in 2001? Then that's your problem. Maybe you're the fair weather fan. You know what I mean? Like, liking the Bears was also my own choice. I mean, like, my mother likes the Bears, sure, but she's not a big football person. Not you know what I mean? Not in the way that it's like, we got to get gear, we got to go to the games. You know, that's not really a thing. My dad grew up a 49ers fan. Why? Because when he was young, that's what he saw. It was the same thing. Although he was a little bit older, I don't really think it's a fair excuse. But, you know, whatever. Anyway, so to wrap that all up into a neat little bow, for those of you who don't like sports, I don't really care. This is part of it. It's been told. You could use a little education. You know, ask me some questions. I'll tell you. I just can't believe it. Tampa Bay, of all places, you know, one of the worst historical franchises of all time. I mean, I hope that I would love it if in the first game they wore the 70s creamsicle thing and with the terrible logo and was just like, watch us undo all of this misery right away. I think that it's probably going to go really well. I think that he throws the ball within 1 second on every play. It's just dudes dashing left and right horizontally across. And since they're so good, like the receivers are so good, I think they're just going to blow past everybody all the time. I think that they basically are like, will run like a Princeton offense, like like the basketball offense in football somehow. Like, I can't really explain what I'm trying to say, but like even faster than the Patriots passes were. I think that he's going to get it, boom. Like, you know what I mean? I think the goal is like, dude, if anybody touches me once all season, like, I'm done. You know what I mean? But I mean, we'll see. That's going to be crazy. Hopefully the NFL season even fucking happens. You know, honestly, that would probably be the worst case scenario for me. If anything happens to the football season, it would absolutely destroy me because we got a long way to go before that shit's even supposed to start. They're already talking about postponing the draft. It's like, you can do the draft virtually. Come on. Like, lose the money one time. Don't worry about the ratings and the cash and whatever. Because we fucking need to know who gets drafted. Like, people need to get drafted. You know what I mean? If you're going to push the draft, like, just for TV and cash and shit, like, you're going to fuck up everything. If you still think the season's going to go as planned, then you cannot be pushing anything back because training camp needs to start on time. Like, you need to have your rookies in. You know what I'm saying? So, just please don't do that, NFL. You know? I can't lose the NFL. NBA is whatever, but I mean, the points are just insane. It's just too much. Like, nobody's really playing basketball. As much as it pains me to say, you know, I'm not really. I don't like to think of myself as like a purist guy. I'm pretty into innovation, you know, within sports or whatever. But I mean, Jesus, if you're not playing defense, I don't see the point. And like, you can like that's what you can say that there's a bunch of good defense being played. Like, yeah, in individual matchups, but like as a team, there just isn't because there's too many points. And I get analytics and threes, and that's the reason why there's more points. But I don't know. I can't. There's just something in me that it just believes that, like, you could still really stifle somebody. Like, there's still the ability to hold somebody to, like, 90 points. You know, like, I've said this before. It wasn't that long ago where playoff games would have, like, 75-point games. Like, that was, like, you know, 6 years ago. Like, it wasn't that long ago where it was normal. Like, 100 points was still like an accomplishment and not a standard. You know what I mean? Like, the highest scoring team in the NBA scored like 120 points a game, and the best defense is allowing like 105. It just blows my mind. Anyway, even though I've said that before, I will say it again. Been pretty turned off by basketball. Super excited for football season though. I'm really excited for the new Madden. My favorite thing about getting a sports video game is getting it the year after like a bunch of shit just changed and got shook up. Because then you can kind of see how each team is with like the guy a little bit before the season starts. So like you can crush it and be like, bro, this could have happened like this, and you feel better about yourself and whatever. And it's just nice. It's nice to be able to get to see your team win the Super Bowl virtually in your own room. Anyway, so I'll digress from sports. I did watch that fucking crazy Tiger King shit. Florida is just the worst place. I don't really know why anyone would consciously make a decision to live there. Like, haven't you heard enough terrible things that you're like, that people are still like, yeah, I'm going to stay here in Florida? Like, those people have different DNA. Those are not human beings as I and you know them. You know what I'm saying? That's not to diminish them and say that they are less than human. I did not say that. But they're different. Please show me a normal story from Florida that doesn't involve like tourist places, because those normal stories are from people that aren't from there. It is an absolute like outlaw wasteland, desolate swamp out there. I can't even begin to fathom. I mean, what could be running through someone's brain down there? Is there something in the water? You know what I mean? Like all this, there's enough Florida man going around for everybody, and it's daily. I mean, if you go to Google News with Florida man, it's different every couple hours, for like a full page worth. Everybody's just fucking crazy down there. I think it's the humidity. Because, I mean, the summers here, they get people get murdered like crazy. It's hot. It's brutal. Humidity is terrible. I mean, it also prevents us from drinking water. For those who do not know, I didn't know this, okay? Let me do a little story time here. So I went to Colorado once in my life, okay? And while I was there, I could not stop drinking water the entire time. My mouth was like I ate sand every 10 minutes. The air there is just so dry that breathing is impossible without just gallons of water, which is incredible. You know what I mean? It's fantastic. But you have to piss all the time. All the time. Like, I would take a piss before we go somewhere, and then by the time everybody's actually ready to leave, like 7 minutes later, I'm like, all right, let me piss before we go. And then we can go. It is insane. And this is my theory as to why, if this is even accurate, but I feel like the Midwest has a higher obesity rate, right? Definitely seems likely. A lot of people would assume it's because of the cold, but my counter, however, is that it's because of the humidity. Because, let me tell you, there's times where, like, I'm thirsty and I just think I'm hungry. Like, I don't even know. I didn't get into water until I was, like, 22 years old. You know what I mean? Nobody was drinking water when I was a kid. And that sounds absolutely insane. You don't need it. You could go a couple days without drinking anything over here. I mean, I don't know if that's normal. Maybe that's just me. But I feel like you could just sit in a room all day, probably eat some crackers, and you could just still, like, not have any water. And so it's like, oh man, I must be hungry again. It's like, no, you're thirsty. You can't tell when you're thirsty. How are you going to know? How are you going to be hydrated if you never know when you're thirsty? Oh, beer sounds good. Of course it sounds good. I don't need anything. Right? So, yeah. It was a unique experience to learn, oh, like, this is what it's like to, like, need water, And then it became like, it's funny that it became like an Instagram fad to, like, drink water. I mean, thank God, whatever it takes, luckily, I discovered it before the internet had to tell me. So that's good, but it still took way too long for me to understand that I should be drinking more water. I try to drink 64 ounces a day. Almost never happens unless I'm at work. That's when it's easy, because then you're just sipping, sipping, sipping. It's like I'm bored. Let me drink something to do. You know what I mean? And I mean, I quit smoking, so who knows what I'm gonna do if we ever get to go back to work again? Maybe this is it. You know, maybe we'll just all sign contracts to stay where we are for like a decade or whatever. Then we can come out when it's clear. You know, as long as the electricity keeps flowing, I can probably swing it. As long as I got electricity and water, I've learned. Uh, yeah, that could be fun. It was messing with the EQ a little bit, so if I sound different, apologies. Like I said, always a work in progress, you know. That's kind of like my always strive and prosper. Always a work in progress. I'm a whip, mob. Hit me up. Hashtag a whip. Maybe that could be our next new little slogan. I mean, I try to keep them coming. You know, we got the R fat stuff. We got the I feel like Tuesday. Maybe let's go a whip. Hashtag a whip. That's me. Always a work in progress. We keep it moving forward. 100% tundra. Okay, I'm like I like to think of myself as like an angry Kevin Nealon. uh, if that if that registers or is even possible, that just becomes a completely different person. But shout out to Kevin Nealon. I wish you were in more stuff. At least that I guess I wish I've seen more of your stuff. I'm sure you're in plenty of stuff. But keep it going. You know, Kevin Nealon. Give me a call. You know, maybe we can do something. Um, that reminds me. So I should probably tell this story. So I don't know if it's still active or not, but I definitely have what at least used to be Pauly Shore's phone number in my phone. Now, this was also confirmed back when I had a Snapchat because it was like people in your contacts, and then it was like him, and you could watch his story, and I was like, oh, that's him. So this is legit. And I also knew it was 100% legit because of said story. So I used to work near, right across from Woodfield Mall in Schaumburg, Illinois. Now there's an improv there, comedy club, like attached to the mall. I did not work at the mall, thankfully. It's a disaster, apparently. So I don't recommend it. If anybody's thinking about working at a mall, don't. Here you go. Here's your sign. You came to the right place. But anyway, so like every now and then, not consistently, or maybe we just didn't notice, I don't know, but performers from the comedy club, I guess if they're there early or whatever, they would come in. I used to work at Whole Foods. There's a Whole Foods right there. And yeah, they would come in and grab whatever the fuck they want. You know what I mean? It's a store and they're people. They can do whatever they want. But they would come in and every now and then, you know, we'd be like, oh shit, that's that guy or blah, blah, blah. Or people, you know, sometimes it would go without being mentioned. Sometimes it would go without being noticed. Sometimes you're not there. You don't even hear about it, whatever. Right? So one time it's the legend himself, Mr. Pauly. And basically, he was just like, he basically just hit on a coworker and actually, the story itself is really funny. So, shout out to the homie I'm talking to. You know who you are if you end up listening to this, but I know you won't because I know you, and that's why you deserve to pick up garbage. Anyway. So if forgive me if my Pauly Shore impression's terrible, but I'm gonna have to do one like mandatorily when it gets to the point. So anyway, I don't really know what went down. I wasn't in the area. I was actually working at like in a station at the time, so I like couldn't leave, and I really wanted to. I don't know, say something. It's fucking Pauly Shore. You know, the guy's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I mean, like, funny to listen to talk, but God, come on, those movies are terrible. You know, you can't do anything about that. You can't deny that. Anyway, although loved him in Goofy movie, or was he an extremely Goofy movie? Either I think he was in both. Whatever. Extremely's better. I don't care what anybody says. Bradley Uppercrust the third. I mean, you cannot top that, right? Uh, so anyway, yeah, he's just over there. He's like, "Do you know who I am?" Oh wow, that went horribly wrong. See, I told you I couldn't. I told you I couldn't do it. But yeah, he was like, "Do you know who I am?" And she was like, no. And he's like, take a picture of me and send it to your parents. Maybe they'll know. And I, to this day, think that that is so fucking funny. Like, that that anybody would ask a person to take a picture with them because, oh my God, that's just brilliant. I mean, you understand why. I just explained the story. I was going to just repeat it again and be like, that's why that's funny, because it's what I said. Anyway, you guys get it. But anyway, I think that's a brilliant bit. Also, really good way where if you're a famous person not getting offered a phone number to get a phone number. I got to admit, because then he's like, send it to me too. Here's my number. Bam. Pretty slick move. Now, I think he was purely doing it to fuck around. And like so like people could have a story to tell just like this. And so it's brilliant and I love the bit entirely. So Paulette, you know, I think we called him once and I think he answered, and that's probably why he changed his number. You know, I probably not the only one who got said phone number. So sorry, Paulie. If you ever want to talk, you know, I have your number. So let me know if you want me to use it or if it's accurate, and you know, we can work something out. You know, maybe I'll write you a sequel to Encino Man. Not that I've seen it or would. Yeah. So that's my classic Pauly Shore story that I hijacked from someone else. I wish more comedians would have came in there, so I could have not had the courage to talk to them and then be mad about it. It's terrible. I cannot handle anybody that I'm like truly a fan of. I can't speak to. I'm confident in that. In that it's only really happened once. Now this was like it was like a don't meet your hero type situation where it was like a dude in my favorite band and I panicked. You know, that's a whole thing. I feel like that was at least a little bit reasonable, but I know that I would have been mad if I didn't do it. It was one of those where it's like if you're not really that big of a fan, it's like I just don't really want to bug like you know what I mean? It's not really that cool of an experience for me, so why would I waste their time? You know what I mean? And like as a worker, maybe I would like be a little bit more of a worker about it and just be like, "Hey man, you need anything?" And they'll be like, "No, you know, fuck off and leave me alone, please." And that would be the end of it. You know, that would be the only real time where I'd maybe do that. But like, I'm not like a selfie guy. I'm not gonna ask for a selfie with anybody. You know what I mean? I think that that's insane. But who knows? I mean, maybe there's somebody out there. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'd want to take a selfie with like LeBron James or something. Because also, like, I don't really care. Like, it would be crazy to meet LeBron James, but it wouldn't be that big of a deal to me. I don't want to say that in a rude way. It would be a crazy moment for sure, right? I'm just personally not a big fan, you know. I think as a guy he's cool. I don't like him as a basketball player. And I'm not saying he's not good. You know, that's pretty much why I don't like him. Too dominant. Drives me insane. Drives me insane. You know, especially because when he was in Miami was when he was the best, and it's when he had an incredible team. It was brutal. It was brutal. Because also it was when the Bulls were good, so it was like fuck. This is the one shot we've had. They won 62 games. They won 62 games, and everybody just ignores it. I feel like the fucking Safdie brothers talking about the Knicks from the same era. You know, where's my Bulls lovers at from that time? Please, okay. But that was also the injury year, I think. Fucking Derrick Rose. God, what could have been? I love you, Derrick Rose. I forgive you. Not that you need to be forgiven. That's the problem. We all got mad like it was his fault. It's not your fault, Derrick. Okay? Chicago loves you forever. Just by default. And there's my my little Goodwill Hunting advice for you. Right? I mean, Robin Williams told him. And he listened. So congratulations. Frosted Tips for life. We should bring it back. I mean, if there was ever a time to bring back Frosted Tips, I think it's when you're at home alone and nobody can ever see it. You know what I mean? So if right now you're a person who's like been, or maybe not even right now, maybe it's been like years ongoing, like this conflict in your head, like, wow, I really enjoy this look. I think I think it works, and I think it would work on me, and even if it doesn't, I support it enough that I want to try it, right? But you're like, I don't want to be shunned by society. Totally fair, because you would be, because that's atrocious and stupid, and you would look terrible, most likely. But who knows, right? And that's kind of the itch that you've been trying to scratch. It's like, I would just love to find out, but I don't want anybody else to find out, right? So now's your time, okay? Frosted Tips people. You do you, okay? You grab some Maybelline or whatever the fuck and do whatever the fuck you have to do that and do it, right? There's my $1,000,000 advice, okay? If you want your tips frosted, go fucking frost them. Frost them like flakes. Let's get going, okay? They're great. But they're not. Because who wants fucking frosted tips? Please, I hope, here's the thing. While I hope that you actually do get to try that, if that is your goal and something that you would like to do, please do it. But also, like, I hope that that's not the case for anybody at the same time. Because on a second note, if that is your situation, maybe you got some other underlying issues that you might need to address. Maybe. I don't know. That's not for me to decide, right? That's just for me to, point out that may be part of what's going on, right? Jesus. Isn't it incredible how many feelings and opinions you have on how many things? Sometimes it's just fucking remarkable that like anything could come up and I instantly know how I feel about it. And it's like, where the fuck did that come from? You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of a good example right now. Frosted Tips definitely isn't, because nobody should fucking like that ever. Everybody's opinion should be the same on that. Okay? But I mean, it's just so bizarre. Like the stuff on Curb, right? Like if you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, the dude's got a fucking opinion on everything. And some people watch that show. I assume a very small, stupid population watch that show and think like, oh my God. Right? Because it's just insane. It is. And it's a lot. And that's the point. I mean, I absolutely love it. The more the merrier. I love when it goes fucking crazy. And that's why this season it's over. That is so sad. I can't believe I just realized that. But the new season was fucking awesome. What I didn't like was when they chilled it out a little bit. Like toward the last couple episodes, I don't know. I just feel like it started so crazy. That first episode had like fucking 15 new storylines. He was breaking shit. It was unbelievable, right? And then they like went to Mexico and did a whole like different thing, and it was cool, man, to have like a breath of fresh air in that show. Not that it even needed one, right? It could be the same thing forever, but the fact that they're like getting weird with it now is awesome, right? But I'm sure some people watch that show and they're like, Jesus, like this guy needs to stop and tone it down, or I'm like fucking ramp it up, right? But I mean, I do sometimes question, like, Jesus, how does he even know that he feels this way about stuff? And then I'll catch myself being like, you know what, man, you should not, do this on an airplane or like at a restaurant. And it's like, what the fuck? I guess I'm just well informed. I guess maybe it's because of that show. Who knows? Maybe I just talked myself into a solution. Again, who knew that I knew the answer? Not me. Right? It's magic. It's magic what you can discover about yourself. All you gotta do is fucking talk alone in a room. Who would have thought? What a healthy thing I'm doing. Right? Jesus. They wanted social distancing, though. Here we are. You asked for it, not me. Not me, no way. No way, no how. Anyway, I digress. I never really got to finish thought. It's just unprecedented, okay, that he's doing this. I'm sorry. I can't stop thinking about it. Tom. I mean, I don't know why. It just feels dirty. You know what I mean? Feels like cheating, right? I mean, I hope it's incredible. That's the thing. I don't want it to suck because everybody talks about, oh, this guy went to this team and sucked. And it's like, well, he hasn't sucked yet. Everybody's talking about how his last season was terrible. And it's like, I guess for Tom Brady, sure. Don't give me QBR when it comes to this guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's beyond advanced metrics. Don't give me that, especially because they're new to football, right? Because now they're talking like, oh, he actually sucked like most of the time. And it's like, no, he didn't. You know what I mean? That's where it's like, you can get blinded by stats. So I get the people that like want to be in between. In between is the place to be. You know what I mean? Because if you're going to go all metrics, then some dudes, like, you know what I mean? Then probably everybody from Texas Tech is a monster, and some of them probably can't play in the NFL. Meanwhile, some of them probably can. Like, if there was an in-between guy and a little bit of metrics guy, I still think to this day, both Graham Harrell, no, here, let's go 3. Graham Harrell, Colt McCoy, and Kellen Moore all would have been successful NFL quarterbacks because they were unbelievable in college. Like, I watched them play, and the throws they were making were insane, right? You can't, like, the system doesn't dictate that. And I get that everybody understands that now, right? But at the same time, you can't tell me that while you understand that you don't understand that sometimes they don't paint the full picture, right? Like, isn't it why the Rockets aren't winning titles? Because they're using only that, you know? I mean, I don't know. The A's didn't win the World Series. Like, you gotta just have somebody with an it factor, right? So don't tell me Tom Brady's terrible ever. He never has been. He never will be. Hopefully. For the will be part. But, like, how can you say that he's been bad? Like, he threw 24 touchdowns, 8 picks. Sounds good to me. I'm good already. Oh, his completion percentage was down. So, the team was bad. The offense wasn't good, right? They had to play in the divisional. They won 12 games. They won 11 the year before and got the bye. Nobody was like, Jesus, they only won 11 games? Maybe they were. People probably were saying that. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not that crazy. You can say his plays declined. He won the Super Bowl. He's a year removed from it. So, I mean, I see no reason. Although, like Manning, it does happen, like, fucking overnight. But that's why I think that they're going to be, like, little darts, like, I think he's going to throw, like, 45 passes a game. Like, it's going to be all on Yak. That's my prediction. But yeah, he's fucking great. Always great. Don't tell me that shit. And I hope it works out. I just really hope it works out. I don't want it to be a Jordan Wizards thing. And I get that he had, like, front office pull, and that's why he came back and did that. But, like, still, bad look. Bad look, right? But, I mean, it just never went well. I mean, Namath was never good, right? So everybody brings up Namath on the Rams. Like, yeah, he was atrocious, but was he ever good? You want to look at those fucking numbers? Huh? Look at his number, and you'll be like, oh, it was the 60. Well, go fuck yourself then if there's an answer for everything, right? So Brady sucks, but Namath was good, even though the numbers don't say so? Go fuck yourself. I'm sorry. That doesn't add up. That's not a good point. Anyway. I'm going to move on from it now, but actually I'm not, because one last thing I just want to say. I love you, whatever you decide, Tom. You're my hero, and you're the GOAT, so it doesn't really fucking matter, right? And that's why just let him do what he wants. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? He makes $70 million and doesn't win another Super Bowl? Sounds like everybody else, right? I mean, a lot of people have made that much money and not won a Super Bowl. So, sounds like a win-win to me, right? I mean, big boost for Tampa. The greatest thing that's ever happened. If I was in Tampa, I'd be... as soon as reports came out that it was maybe a thing, I would have got on the season ticket wait list. Come on. I've never gotten to see him play. I mean, the Patriots only play the Bears every 4 years. I think it was only, you know what I mean? It's at home or on the road every other time, so it's like once every 8 years is your only shot. Locally. You know what I mean? I guess I could have gone to a Colts game or something. But anyway, that's not really the point. I love you, Tom Brady. That's the end of the Tom Brady thing for now. I'm going to talk about him forever. He's a god. But, yeah, speaking of Tampa Bay, I actually don't know what the weather is like in Tampa Bay. It's in Florida, so that sucks. I mean, Brady's not going to become one of those Florida guys. I definitely think he's way too established to be a Florida man. So I don't think that the state will corrupt him. I get why old people would go. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying I don't get why anybody who's like 20 is like, yeah, let me sign a lease. Let me make sure I stay in Florida. You know what I mean? Or anybody's like, you know what I mean? I could get going to college there and I could get vacations there. I get every reason to go there. I don't really get any reason to live there unless you're an old established person. You know what I mean? Like I get the tax things and all that stuff. Great. Great. Why do you think that is? It's great for millionaires. Sure. They're just protecting their assets. But it's so fucking bumblefuck Jim, you know, in Boone County. Every hillbilly place is Boone County to me. Anytime I'm in like a farm area or just like middle of nowhere, any place that would be considered like bumfuck, I also would now call Boone County. That's my new thing. Let me know if it catches on, because then we can do hashtag Boone County. uh, Yeah, but it's so that guy doesn't leave, the middle of nowhere in Florida. Why would he go anywhere? He doesn't got to pay, income tax, property, you know what I mean? You don't got to pay any fucking taxes if you live there cuz they're like, "Please somebody just stay. Please. We need this." And yeah, I don't think that that's an issue if you're rich. I think that like Florida traps the poor and ruins people's lives. But anyway, I do assume that the weather is nice in Tampa. I've been there. Busch Gardens, pretty sick. Pretty sick. Had some cool rides, some animals. It's always nice to see some animals. Uh, and yeah, probably nice there. We got our first nice quarantine day here, and a little concerned as to how that's going to go. We might be tearing each other limb from limb in the streets. It's nice out. But it's also like, get the fuck away from me. So it's like, how do you handle that? I don't know if we'll handle it well here. It's condensed. You know, Out in Boone County, you got a couple acres between you and the next guy. They're socially distanced daily, bro. They know what's up, okay? They got their hands in the dirt, you know, the salt of the earth. They got their knuckle deep in mud. What do you know about it? You know? Like just put me on your tractor and drive me to the ocean. I think that worst case scenario, people just start walking into the ocean, right? And maybe that somehow solves a whole lot of problems that we just weren't aware of, right? But I mean, now's the time for any good inventions if you want to do like some anything, anything cool. I'm hoping that a lot of like I've been waiting for like that breakthrough thing, because now we're at a place like in like tech where like everything is so fucking sick that like basically everything's just getting upgraded and there's like no real new stuff. You know what I mean? I remember like, even when the iPad came out, I just didn't get it. I was a kid, but I just didn't get it, right? But that was like a new breakthrough thing. Like a fucking tablet is crazy. Like I understand it. You know what I mean? I get it now that I'm not a child. But like, you know what I mean? There's not going to be like a new cell phone. They are what they are. You can only like expand on. So like, where's that new breakthrough thing? Like when the car came out and then the airplane came out, everybody's like, "Oh fuck!" Now we're just getting all the same shit. Let's. I hope that out of this, somebody's like, "Yo, check out this fucking smorgasbord." Whatever. I have developed a light that transmits to the moon. Or whatever. Just some crazy shit where we're like, "Holy Shaka Khan, how the fuck did you pull that off?" Right? And it's like a game changer. That's what I want. Where's the like somebody makes a plumbus and we finally know what they're for, right? That would be sick. And I think now's the time. You got dudes tinkering at home. Isn't that usually what happens? Right? Isn't that how they found penicillin? Right? Some dude was just like nasty. It was just some dude like jizzing in his socks and like throwing onions in the sink, and he's like, "Oh my god, I just made a little healthy baby." Right? Like I can help people with this little cocktail. So now to this day, I mean, maybe, if you're making cheese in your kitchen, maybe you think twice about, what your standard recipe is. Maybe you want to throw something new in there, and then maybe we'll discover a little something, right? Like when you're using your loincloth and your pantyhose to curdle milk into the cylinders and funnel it out, maybe you throw a little nitroglycerin in there or whatever. A little monothamin nitrate. That's right. I'm just saying stuff. I know that those things would not go well with those other things. But, maybe somebody is trying something that nobody's ever tried before. And that's what we like to call innovation, right? And that's what America claims it's all about. You take a ride through the middle of the country, and you might disagree. You might realize that every building is falling apart in between Chicago and Los Angeles. I don't know about that, but I mean, you roll through a plain state, and you're gonna see some crazy shit. And it's like these people either just don't give a fuck, or it's abandoned, or you don't really know what's going on. And it's like, yeah, I don't think really anybody knows what's going on over here. Because I didn't, and I'm, fucking 50, 70 miles away. So I guess everybody's chilling, but like, Jesus, I see those buildings. I'm like, damn, are we in the hood? And I'm like, oh, wait, they don't have the hood. This is just it. This is just everywhere. And it's like, oh, that's depressing. Right? Please take me back to where the infrastructure exists. I'm a big infrastructure guy. Yeah, pretty hot take. I know, but yeah, I love infrastructure. Uh, pretty rare breed. I know. So if anybody wants to talk roads, you let me know. I still don't get the road thing, right? Like, how is there a road everywhere? I just do not understand how that's humanly possible, right? But then it takes like, I don't know, it takes like 2 years to build a Target. Something doesn't add up there, right? Because, you know what I mean? There's a road to everywhere, coast to coast, no problem. Like, you can get anywhere, right? But when they started that in like the 40s, shouldn't they still be working on some of it somewhere? No. Somehow there's a fucking road everywhere. I don't care how many people there are. That is just insane, right? Now, maybe that's just because I'm used to like us not getting shit done and everything being slow and terrible. Because like in fucking Asia, they got all these bullet trains and all this awesome shit that's fucking cool and it goes up quick and they have all these advancements. Maybe you know what I mean? Maybe that's the one thing we did well, and I think that it's crazy because we're not doing anything else well. Maybe I should be mad that we're not building everything else up that quickly, right? I mean, I think that's fair. America. Where'd these roads come from? How is that not? I think that is a crazier conspiracy theory than flat Earth. You know what I mean? If you start to deny like road workers, like, nah, these roads been here, bro. Christ put these roads here when he was in St. Louis or whatever the fuck. But yeah, I mean, if you have any inside information on roads, you just let me know. Because I think we should get to the bottom of this. I think that this is a perfect example of what I was trying to articulate with the Curb Your Enthusiasm thing. Apparently, I got a lot of opinions on roads. So, I also do think, okay, so I think I talked about like my little tiny home lot thing to make like little mini neighborhoods, and it would be cool and secure, and like, you know what I mean? You put like 4 to 8 in one lot and one gate for everybody, but like you have a key, so it's still private, and then like your neighbors. I think that would be really cool, right? But then I think like if you're going like on a little bit like a city planning thing, right? So you set up a bunch of lots with a bunch of those. Obviously, that's part of the plan anyway. Same thing with the garage conversion thing. If I haven't talked about it, please ask me about it. I'll talk about it. But I think that I've done this already before, where I recap it. Anyway, the full like city planner mode version would be basically, so there's this park called the 606, which any Chicago people, if you're listening, you know about it, because you're only listening to this because I asked you to, so that's fine. But yeah, it's like a converted train track that is now a park. Brilliant idea. I think they have a few in New York like that, probably. You know what I mean. Probably across the country, but it's just the one that I know of, right? So now imagine if there was a system of that. So like Chicago already has all those over the road like L tracks, the train tracks, right, for everybody to get around. Some of them are underground, some of them are above ground, right? I'm thinking, why wouldn't you just build a bunch of those above ground platforms as like paths anyway, right? So like imagine if I understand that it like well if it's for trains it affects the look, but like if it's like a little park thing, imagine if in New York City above the road, it doesn't have to be like literally every street, but imagine like if every 5 blocks there was like an above ground path where you could like bike. You know what I mean? Like bike messengers. I think that occupation would just balloon up through the roof. But I also think like in terms of infrastructure, like you have less people on the road, less people on the sidewalk, because let's say sidewalk is just for walking, and then these above ground paths are for like rollerblading, biking, skateboarding, like whatever wheel thing you got, even the little motorized, like, the quote hoverboards. I hate that they're called hoverboards. You're not hovering, and that's a slight to Back to the Future, and it's total bullshit. So fuck you. It shouldn't be called that, and whoever decided to call it that's an asshole because it's stuck. Anyway, yeah, imagine that. Like every single mode of traffic that would normally be a nuisance to drivers is just up there, and then people are walking, so anybody who would be a nuisance on a sidewalk is also up there, right? And I just think doing that underground would just be dangerous for a lot of people, so above ground is just a natural solution. But I mean, how is that not more effective? Everybody, you get to go as fast as you want. You don't have to stop at any lights. Like, it's perfect. You can just keep cruising to wherever you got to go, and then there's like exits every few blocks. Boom. I just think that, like, if you built a city with that in the plan, or like, I guess retroactively, but that would be pretty difficult, which I think is probably the reason why that's not really coming up anywhere. But I don't know. It's like, oh, so is that just a missed opportunity that we never got to have because somebody decided to convert a train track, like, you know, 80 years after it got built and nobody realized that we could have just had these paths the whole time? Probably yes. That's bullshit, though. I don't know. I just think, like, what better thing to invest in than making people's commute easier? Because it's the worst part of everything. Everybody hates every kind of traffic, every kind of line, and if you enjoy it, that's great. Okay, give me like I want that Uber app for people who wait in line for you. That would be fucking sick. And if it already exists, tell me what the app's called. But we need to blow it up. You know, if you want to be a contract gig, I would probably rather be the guy waiting in line than an Uber driver, though. That sounds brutal to me. But yeah, I mean, let's get that app going where you can wait in line for me and then I just come take your spot. I love that. I love that concept, and I love that people would totally do it. And it just seems like a no-brainer to me. I would totally pay for that, right? Like, isn't that the ultimate form of laziness? Like, you don't want to do nothing. You know what I mean? You'd rather do nothing at your house than do nothing waiting in line. And then, like, it's also useful, like, if it's a thing you need to wait in line for, but, oh, you have a job, you know. Again, this is wishful thinking that the world will go back to normal. But yeah, I mean, could you imagine all those tasks getting done? You can now have somebody buy your groceries and drive you home, and then they can wait in line for you for stuff. It's like, imagine that's one guy. We should all just hire an assistant. Wouldn't it be easier if you just had your Uber driver? I feel like at this point, the ratio of Uber and Lyft drivers to people is like 1-to-1. Again, not that they're not people, but I'm just saying, like, imagine. I think that there's a Lyft driver for every person, for sure. Like, half the population is driving for Lyft or Uber. I'm a Lyft guy. I still don't really trust Uber. I don't know if they've changed their ways or not corporately, but they did some nasty shit and I didn't like it. It also costs more and takes longer. Their routes are terrible. The shared route take you out of the way on purpose, like, just so you can fucking, like, not have to pay monetarily, but have to pay in suffering for selecting the cheaper option. They're like, you don't want to fucking pay? All right, well, you're going to pay in torture, and we're going to drive you fucking 25 blocks out of the way, and we're not going to take the highway because fuck you. We're going to take the streets, and we're going to take the busiest streets there are because this is somehow optimized for your convenience. You can go fuck yourself because it's not, okay? So yeah, you know, I took it once. I took it. I took it like once, maybe 3 times. It has never really gone very well. If I'm with somebody, goes fine every time. But the solo trips are pretty rough. They've been rough. Uh, so yeah, I'm a Lyft guy. Big Lyft guy. It's usually cheaper. The routes are better. So just leave it at that. Check your shared. You know, nobody wants to take a shared. I feel like that is just insane to me. Like, where do you gotta go? You know, if you're late, then don't. Sure, I get it. You know, but I mean, why are you just content to not spend money? Is it really that hard to sit next to somebody in a fucking in a car? You ever sit like, you know what I mean? If there's somebody on a bench at the bus stop, do you not sit down? If you want to sit down, if you don't want to sit down, don't sit down. But I mean, like, to what extent are you going to go to avoid people? It's terrible. I find myself doing it out of habit all the time. Like, it just seems normal that we should just be avoiding everyone at all costs. And right now is not a good time to be saying this because, like, yeah, you should be and definitely should be. But when you shouldn't have to be, like now, so later, right? You follow that? You know, don't be like that. Don't be giving people don't be coughing in people's mouths and shit. Still, always still true. That'll never not be true, right? But I mean, Jesus, don't go to such lengths. You know, sometimes I have to find myself making an effort to go out of the house. Like, I have to, like, have some reason. It's like, no, just leave, you know? And that's a struggle. I guess I'm angry this morning. I don't really know what's going on. I think I've kind of woken up as I've gone along and talked myself into energy. You know what I mean? I'm channeling my inner chakras through my vocal stimulus package. Whatever. Yeah. I don't know. It's just exhausting. Not any of the things I said. Really, just like trying to think all that. Like, being me is pretty pretty exhausting. You know. But you know, I duke it out. I grind it out. That's what I'm here for. You know, I'm a man of the people. The other day, I spent probably about 4 hours in the morning watching a bunch of Barstool One Bite Pizza reviews, and let me say, totally hooked. Been watching them all week ever since. Fucking, I've been fucking with Barstool a little bit in and out lately for like the past year. I'm starting to get it. You know what I mean? At first I didn't get it because, like, you just see like somebody share like a random clip, you know, on your feed or whatever, and then you like just watch that clip and you don't really get it. It's like you kind of have to be involved and like a constant reader to like understand, right? I feel like that's how I am with The Ringer, right? The Ringer's my number one. It was my number one website was Grantland before The Ringer, so like, you know, pretty big Bill Simmons guy, as I think I've mentioned before. But yeah, I feel like I like the whole staff. Like, you feel like you know all of them, how involved they are, and like how much content they're putting out. It's fantastic, and I retroactively realized what Barstool's been doing the whole time, and it's fucking cool as well. And they got like branches and shit, so that's awesome. Um, but yeah, those pizza reviews are fucking sick. I get it. I got the app. The fact that they have all that app and infrastructure, that's like totally. I think that's why I like it. It's totally in like my vein of what a project could be, right? It's like, oh, let me just do this little thing, take this little video. There's not really much structure to it. It's pretty loose, but then it turns into this like whole thing with the app, and like they make it super legit and awesome and real. Like, there's not that much going on in the actual video itself other than this guy just like saying an arbitrary thing, and it's brilliant. I'm sorry. Again, I'm doing that thing where I just explain what it is and then say that it's good because it's what it is. Everybody knows what it is. I'm not saying anything new here. I'm just repping. You know what I mean? I got to give credit where credit's due, okay? But I mean, that's a thing to do. If you're looking for something to watch, maybe try that. I don't really know. I started rewatching The Leftovers, And let me tell you, the first season is even better than I remember. I remember it was being like, so like if I had to do like out of 10, if I had to do like a season by season ranking, my original thought was that the first season was like a, like a 6.5, right? 7, maybe? Looking back, total like 8.3. It was phenomenal. Really, just like the first episode's pretty slow. And then like the second one a little but then like the whole rest of the way it just cruises. It just gets unbelievable right away. I thought that the source material was like part of the problem. It was not at all. First season was amazing. And yeah, I mean the second season is even better than I thought that was too. I'm getting through that right now, and I mean season 3 I was watching as it happened, right? So I got into it after the first because the second season went like was ads were everywhere on HBO. They were just like, please fucking watch this. Thank God they let them do the third season regardless. Life changer, but I watched that unfold live, and that's the greatest season of television in history. So like, you don't need to, you know what I mean? I don't even need to rewatch that to reevaluate that score. There's no way that gets worse. I'm sorry. There's just no way. And I'll probably do a deeper dive once I finish the show. But if you're looking for something, highly recommend it. Weirdly, a lot of parallels to our current situation. You know what I mean? So that was partially the reason why I kind of want to start it. I had just been wanting to rewatch it anyway. It's a fucking masterpiece. And I also started Watchmen, Damon Lindelof's next project with Regina. You know what I mean? And it's also fucking awesome. But that I feel like I really, really need to pay attention to. So I'm gonna breeze through the leftovers, knowing I've seen it already, so I can miss a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if I take a swig of water, if I like check a text, I don't have to feel like, oh fuck, what happened. Whereas like in Watchmen, I'm like trying to give my full devoted attention. That's how I like to watch anything. That was how I watched the leftovers originally. And I think that's how everything deserves to do it. Please watch that show. Absolute masterpiece. And yeah, like I said, pretty eerily relevant to right now, but definitely not intentionally. So just kind of works out. Check it out. I'm going to roll out of here. Now that I've ranted my way through the morning, we can go start our day, fuck a morning yoga. I do yoga at night. I scream in the morning. This is how I get started. Anyway, until next time, don't forget, music's coming soon. Wolf X, check it out. I are fat. You are fat. We are fat. Calculator. Thanks.